When you're reading through the script for the first time and you see the setup, what is that experience like watching it kind of unfold as things get resolved and more complicated throughout the plot of the film?
Well, so much of the film is created in real time. With there are the design of the set pieces, but there is no official kind of script that you begin on day one with that you then kind of mark off and shoot as you go along. It's very much like a collaborative, organic, evolving thing. So we're there as actors very much to feel like in a state of constant readiness for whatever is asked of us and however the film naturally evolves and find itself. So it's not till I see the film that you go, oh, this is the version of Grace that they put together. And that makes it, I think, so thrilling because we're discovering it also in real time as the same way that the audience is.
I have to imagine over the course of time that you and Tom Cruise have gotten closer. And I wonder, just from like a friend perspective, if you've been like, hey man, this stunt sounds crazy, and try to talk him out of it, or is it just full trust when you see kind of the ideas coming across the board there?
The thing is, I know Tom well enough to know that that would be pointless. You can't talk Tom out of anything once he sets his mind to it. He's not the kind of guy that would go, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's a bit too dangerous. He is so committed to what he does. He's so determined to deliver an authentic and breathtaking cinematic experience that he will go to literally extreme lengths to do so. And I'll, give him a hug and say good luck and be careful, but it just feels redundant because I know that he does take a lot of care. He's not reckless. He designs these stunts with an amazing stunt team. Wade Eastwood, our stunt coordinator, he and Tom work together really closely. And if anyone's going to do this, it's Tom Cruise,
I wonder if there's something that feels different or special about a McHugh set or a Mission Impossible set that is just distinct from other filming experiences that you've had in your past.
Well, on a film set, the days are long. They can be extremely long, hours and hours and hours. It can be the stunts or whatever can be complicated, it can be time consuming, it could be all those things. But and that's from film to film to film. But it's the people that you have an opportunity to work with, and it's their attitude that they bring to it, the attitude that you bring every day. And that really makes all the difference because it can get incredibly frustrating, but a spirit of let's discover together, let's have fun while we're doing it, let's appreciate what everybody is bringing to the table. That makes all the difference, and they do it wonderfully.
Tom and McHugh, they're so symbiotic. They have a shared language where they don't have to say much to understand exactly what the other person is suggesting. And they like to come up with ideas and to change things up and to challenge their own ideas to come up with something that's most exciting for the audience. And as a part of the ensemble of the cast, you're there to very much facilitate that. And I found it so thrilling. It gave me a chance to try new things and to develop a resilience and a stamina to be able to kind of meet the challenges as I face them.
How do you wrap your head around the high stakes of what your character is going through and how to portray that internal conflict without giving too much of yourself away?
Oh my gosh. Well, she's in a room of advisors, of very capable advisors, and so she doesn't have to make it completely alone, but she has to be the final arbiter of it. So you gather as much information as you can, that which is heard, unheard, seen, not seen, and make the best possible choice given the stakes that are before you, and what we're trying to achieve, especially if you have knowing that you have family and friends and constituents and all who are depending on you. So yeah, that is a heavy burden.
He needs to be a leader in this and lead his team in some aspects. And I'm curious, just someone who has been in the franchise for a while now, Did you ever take kind of a leadership role among new cast members or anyone coming onto the series, just like on set in production?
Yes, I think when we started shooting Dead Reckoning in Norway in 2020, towards the end of 2020, as the kind of senior member of the cast, which was hilarious to me because, I just, it felt like yesterday that I was the baby. I was the one that the rest of the cast would come to and ask questions about what was going to happen and how do we do this and all this kind of stuff, which, it didn't escape me how ironic that was because it doesn't seem like, yesterday that I was fresh on set asking the same questions, But they settled in real quick. They're an amazingly capable bunch, and they didn't need me to lead them for long.
I'm sure you're getting asked about this a lot, but I want to hear all about your sled dog experience. Like, what was that like? What were the dogs like if they were running on set?
We traveled to the Arctic Circle. We were staying in Svalbard, and at one point we were living on an icebreaker ship and shooting scenes on the frozen sea. And we had a group of people on polar bear patrol. We had to stop shooting at one point to let a polar bear walk past us. The sled dogs, they're built for that kind of climate. They love to run. That was kind of when they were most happy and in their element, was on the ice running and pulling that sled. And so what I love about working with dogs is that you have to develop that rapport very naturally. They don't have a polite setting. They either trust you or they don't. So developing that relationship with them was kind of crucial to getting those moments to work.
One of my favorite archetypes and character archetypes has always been the guy in the chair. And obviously Benji has evolved into so much more. But where along the process, you mentioned like it feels like you were just a baby not too long ago, but where along the process did you realize like Benji's going to be a mainstay of this franchise and a really important character moving forward?
I got a message from J.J. Abrams after Mission Impossible 3 came out. It was an email. I remember very clearly waking up and opening my emails, and it said, "Hey, Simon, how would you feel if Benji was a field agent?" And I replied, "I think I'd feel really good." And then so Ghost Protocol happened, And you never know when you do a movie, you never know if you're going to make another one because, however good this one feels, who knows what the climate's going to be like, if we're going to get to do another mission. Who knows if Tom will want to do another one. So every time another one rolled around, it just felt like, oh, great, I get to be this guy again and I get to evolve him a little more. And that happened, 6 times in the end. And it was such a joy to come back and look at everything Benji had been through from Mission Impossible 3 to Dead Reckoning and play him as the most sort of realized, rounded and grounded version of Benji that I think we've ever seen.
Do you ever have like a feeling or desire to want to get more into like the action heavy sequences and, not necessarily hanging off a plane, but is that something that would entice you if, let's say, there is more installments of this in the future?
There might have been a time, but I think that time is past. That time is in the rear view.
No worries. And I'm just curious, just because as a fan of this franchise, it always feels like an evergreen series that can continue on. Do you think this is the end of Mission Impossible, or is there more story to be told with Ethan and his team?
I would never count it as the end. I wouldn't do that, especially with Tom, as the head. No, I just couldn't do that safely. It wouldn't be a bet I'd be willing to make.
I think this film is designed as an accumulation of all the missions that have gone before. So there is a sense of satisfaction and closure from certain plot points or certain characters. However, it's a kind of film you have to see it for the audience to know and to decide for themselves what they think is going to happen. So I'd love people to go and see this movie. I wouldn't want to spoil it for them.